Hello, I'm Llewellyn King, the host of White House Chronicle, which is coming right up. But first, a few thoughts of my own. There's been a nasty little spat between Britain and China. It's over a British citizen who was executed for carrying heroin into China. He alleges it was, or alleged before the Chinese gave him the lethal injection, that he was set up. The British government believes that he was mentally feeble and that he did not get a psychiatric examination. But because it was heroin, the Chinese have whipped back and accused the British of repeating the opium wars, the disgusting opium wars of the 19th century, where Britain was totally at fault. They grew opium, produced the poppies in India, largely the East India Company did it, and then various merchants sold it into China, one of which is still with us, and it certainly doesn't sell opium anymore, but that's Jardine Matheson, very famous Asian-based company based in Hong Kong now. But it's interesting how some countries will jump back into history to indict somebody, and others not at all. The Irish stuck with history. Clearly the Chinese somewhat stuck with history. And then you have, for example, the relationship between France and Germany, where the history has been terrible. 3 major wars in under 100 years, the 2 world wars and the Franco-Prussian War, and yet they're not stuck with history. They're not always stuffing history down each other's throats to justify actions. China is very sensitive to its history. It's sensitive particularly to the Japanese who conquered China and before the Second World War, and very sensitive on that issue. History can be very dangerous. It can be a cause of great trouble. It is important or unimportant to different religions, enormously important to Islam. A friend of mine who has been on this program, Claude Salhani, tells a story about going into a mosque where a man was crying. He was so upset. And Claude, being a very kind man, tried to comfort him, thinking that he had lost a child or a wife or some other terrible, terrible bereavement. No, he was crying over a martyr who died 600 years earlier. Beware of the history lovers. They tend to want to repeat it and at least to pull it out as an indictment for current goings-on. I have a very special guest on this program today who has written an extraordinary book about Ronald Reagan. We will be right back, and you'll meet him then.
White House Chronicle is produced in collaboration with WHUT, Howard University Television.